welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 23 of License to Carranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Each week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listeners. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing well, man. It's a beautiful day out. It's cooled off like a lot.
Considerably, yeah. It's actually really nice out right now.
But you know what's nice about this weather, Matt? Is that it's finally shandy weather.
Ooh, you know I love a shandy weather.
Well, you know I'm not generally a big shandy guy, but when it gets hot, it hits the spot. Now, I know that they make like pre-done shandy beers. They're not good.
This has always seemed silly to me, because you can just get a beer and pour some lemonade in it, and it's 100 times... Okay, it's a lot better.
It's a lot better. I mean, I don't know that I'd numerize it like that. But yeah, like it's way better.
It's more refreshing. You can drink them more casually because it's, you've sort of watered down your beer.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I'm having one right now, Matt.
Oh, sounds lovely. But you know what else sounds lovely, Dave? Is talking about episode 23 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. For real this time, we're actually going to do it.
We are actually going to talk about it.
We're talking about episode 23. It's called Overheating for a Princess. It was written by Yoshio Urasawa. Its original air date was July 26th, 1996. You can watch along with us on shoutfactory.tv or on the DVD box set if you happen to have them. But Dave, before we get into that, as always, of course, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. Would you like to hear what our first star of the week is?
Yeah, man. What is our first star of the week?
First star of the week, Dave, is that I have finally, after like a 2-year delay, pulled my bike out of the basement, brought it to a shop, and had it fixed up.
Oh, nice.
Now I'm riding my bike around again, and Dave, it's really nice. It is like, I had forgotten how much I liked having a bike that I could use.
Dude, that sounds great. I have not had a functioning bicycle in a decade. Probably more than that, actually.
I was going to say, 10 years ago was 2009, and I do not remember you having a bike after college.
Yeah, I didn't. So here's a weird thing. So I just had my 10-year... Beth and I have been married for 10 years. As of a few weeks ago, thank you. And so now, when I say 10 years ago... Anything that happened before I got married is more than 10 years ago. And that's a weird, that's a weird temporal metric for me to all of a sudden, have in my back pocket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
In a few years, so I'm turning 37 this year. And now, in a few years, 10 years ago, be well, were you younger than 30? Because if so, that's more than 10 years, my dude. It's very weird. But that's awesome. You got your bike back.
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's just it had old wheels and old tires. So I thought that it needed to have a tune-up, and I brought it. I've got a guy for this.
You got a guy. Do wheels go bad? Is that a thing?
They just get they were these steel rim wheels from the 80s. Eventually, yes. They will sort of...
Oh, okay. Just because, steel degrades over time. Okay.
Yeah. They just get sort of, dinged up and, bent a little out of shape. And,
No,
bent
I got
far enough out of shape that you couldn't bend them back into shape.
Oh, okay. When you specified steel, I was like, are your new ones not made out of steel? Did you...
No, I did not opt for, super, competitive grade fiberglass wheels. No, these ones are also steel.
Bike stuff is one of those things, because we have a buddy of ours, Matt, editor Mark's brother, is a bike guy. Not a competitive one, but it is his primary mode of transportation in and around where he lives. He lives in Pittsburgh, which makes it even crazier that he uses a bike everywhere. If you've ever been to Pittsburgh.
Riding a bike in Cleveland is already sort of exhausting for me. Riding a bike in Pittsburgh sounds like torture, actual
The idea
torture.
of riding a bike in Pittsburgh sounds alternately it's all torture, but it sounds alternately exhausting and flat out terrifying.
Right, because either you're dragging yourself up these hills or flying down the other side of them.
Yeah, there's no... And we were asking him about bikes, and the gradations of bike stuff like the curve on expense like spikes so quickly. It's like, oh, these are regular wheels and they're made out of steel and they weigh, you know,
they weigh as much as you would think is a circle of steel would weigh.
Right. They weigh like 32 ounces and they are, how much were these wheels, Matt?
I got new wheels and tires and brake pads and had the whole thing swapped out for about 150.
Okay, so it's like 2 wheels. They're made out of steel. They weigh 32 ounces. That's $75. These wheels are made out of like polycarbonate, blah, 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 and they only weigh 26 ounces. And it's like 6 ounce difference, and they're $500. And these wheels are made out of like unicorn whiskers, and they only weigh 12 ounces, and they're $3,000. Like, that's a huge. Like, just the jump is real crazy. You know what else is like that? Is LARP weapon building materials.
I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that's like that, honestly. Like, the entry level up to mid-level point in a lot of stuff is like, oh yeah, I can see spending an amount of money on that sort of thing. And then you get a little more into it and you think, you know, I've been using this one for a while. Maybe it's time for an upgrade. And then you look at what an upgrade would cost. And it's just like it's so much like, oh, well, I guess this is never going to be a hobby of mine.
I'm just not going to do this ever. Because I just cannot imagine a universe in which I'm $3,000 into having a bike.
Right. But I am very excited to be on the other end of like the $150 purchase of, you know, like new stuff for my bike. Because it is like the thing about having a bike that I really like, that I had sort of forgotten about, is that like walking everywhere is great, but you're kind of stuck within a very specific like perimeter from where you live, right? Like
just like time wise, it just takes a
like practically speaking, there's nothing that prevents me from walking to your house, but it would just take, you know, a day.
Yeah, it would take like the better part of a day, I imagine.
Whereas driving, you're connected to everything, but sort of isolated from it. And being on a bike is sort of like it's right in the middle of that Venn diagram where your radius expands so much out from what your walking radius is, but like it's not like a full day's commitment to go somewhere, but you actually do feel connected to like the city as you're riding through it.
Yeah, no, I dig that. That's very cool.
No, it's nice. I'm talking a lot of like big game about being a bike person after literally having my bike in the basement for 2 years and having it back for about a week. I'm just excited. But Dave, what is our second star of the week?
Our second star of the week, man, I don't think we've had one in a while. It's a baby watch.
We interrupt your regular broadcast of the Super Sentai Brothers to bring you a breaking news update.
Baby watch. So, you know, it's my kids, man. I love these little goobers.
Sure.
So, right, that would be real weird and bad otherwise. Matt, Google Maps says I could walk to your place in 3.5 hours. I imagine that's if I kept up a pretty brisk pace.
Well, I'll see you around 11.
I'm good, thank you. So there's just a handful of things that are particularly great about the kids right now. They are like obviously, so they're just past 2.5. And they're shooting up like weeds. Mm-hmm. Like this is just like a big, you know, like they're doing all sorts of new stuff now, and they're speaking in like big full sentences.
Wow.
So we were at a restaurant, for example, and I looked over at Sugar Bean and she had gotten like noodles or something. And she's like drinking a bunch of water and like basically doing anything but eating her noodles. And I look over and I'm like, "Hey baby, did you eat your noodles?" And she looks at me and she says, "I did not." And like just the way that she said it was so like weirdly adult. And then actually during that same meal, she was eating noodles, right? And so she had a bunch of sauce on her face, and we were like, Did you bite your spoon real weird and like is your mouth bloody or is that just sauce? And she was like, bloody. We're like, what? She just goes, bloody. And she like does like a villain style, like holds both of her fists up and like opens her eyes real wide and just like stares at the ceiling and goes like, bloody. Man, what else? Oh, we just discovered
was she
this.
or was it just sauce?
No, it actually was. She actually did have some blood in her mouth. She had like bitter spoon, real weird. Just discovered this. Buddy Bear is a home pooper. You know, like some people can only poop at home?
Uh-huh.
Right? So he has discovered the joys of not pooping in a diaper.
Okay.
Right? So he's like really into it. He does not like to poop in his diaper anymore.
Hey man, I get it.
Yeah, no, fantastic. So the thing is, though, is we were at this conference in Virginia for like a week.
Uh-huh.
And like he does not want to poop in his diaper, but we were staying in a college dorm and like the toilets were super loud and they freak him out. And so like he just didn't poop for like 4 days.
Oh, wow.
And we were like, buddy, do you have a poop in your bottom? And he's like, yeah, I do. And we're like, okay, well, like you could just go to the, like you can use your diaper, like you can use the potty. And he's like, no, use it diaper, no, use it potty. And like, dude,
well,
just
buddy,
like,
there's only 2 options.
Like, bud, you've got 2 options. And he like on the trip home, like the last day when we left, he finally like he lost it and did poop in his diaper and was like dramatically happier.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, for a minute there, I'm sure it's kind of rough, but
yeah. So we just discovered that he's just a home pooper. Dude just only likes to poop at home, which is like what's wild about that is that like I know that is a trait that people have, and he's 2. Like I wouldn't think of that as a trait that like a 2-year-old would have, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
But like I guess you have to develop that trait at some point, right? It just seems like a weirdly adult thing to do. And what's the last thing I was going to talk about? Oh, they figured out the idea of I'm just doing this. So he can get up on the counter now, right? Like he can just haul himself up on the counter. And so I walk in and he's hauled himself up on the counter and he's next to the sink and he's turned the water on, like the kitchen counter. And I'm like, buddy, you're not supposed to be up on the counter. And he looks at me and he says, I'm just washing my hands. As though like, it's like, no, I see what you're doing. That does not negate.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm just doing this.
Right. Because clearly, like, in his mind, this is an explanation. He's like, I don't know. Like, I get it. Yeah, no, counter, right. I'm just washing my hands. Like, I'm not doing any, because he's allowed to wash his hands, right? That's not a problem.
Sure.
And I think the logic in his mind is, I'm not allowed to be on the counter so that I don't, like, do anything bad, right? I don't, like, get a knife or, like, mess around with something I'm not supposed to. But I'm allowed to wash my hands, so, like, Dad just must not get it. Like, he must think I'm up on the counter about to do something nefarious. I'm just washing my hands. I'll just let him know. And then everybody will, like, understand that it's
sure,
fine.
Everything will be cool.
So, yeah, that's the update on my great kids. What, Matt, is our third star of the week?
Dave, third star of the week is podcasts. I know you love them. I love them.
Okay, that's real meta. Go for it.
I mean, okay, it is about specific podcasts. A specific podcast, really. I was going to talk about this a couple of weeks ago, but we skipped over the 5 stars. But I wanted to not forget it because I really liked this podcast. And it's like a limited run, like 6-7 episode, like fancy prestige podcast.
But by prestige, like, is it produced by somebody prestigious, or is it just have,
it is
real high production quality?
It is very high production quality, and I think that someone is like being paid to do it. You know?
Okay.
Like, if it's not, like, I don't think it's from the serial people, but, like, you get it. Like, it's sort of in that zone.
Yeah, no, I got you.
It is not
like, this is not 2 brothers talking about Super Sentai in, like, cobbled together home studios. This is... prestige.
And I'm not saying that means that it's better. Like, actually, most of the podcasts that I listen to are the sort of podcast that you and I do. But on a very rare occasion, I do like to listen to the more like This American Life style of podcast. And this one, it was like a 6-7 episode run. The show, it's from the same guy who did that like Richard Simmons podcast a couple of years ago, where he was trying to find Richard Simmons because he had like no one had heard from him in a while. And this one is called Surviving Y2K.
Wait, hold up. What happened to Richard Simmons? What's up?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't listen to that podcast. I was just sort of giving some context for who this person was.
Man, I haven't thought about Richard Simmons in like 15 years. Now I'm thinking about Richard Simmons. You're just going to drop this mystery into my lap, and you don't actually have the answer.
I mean, I can point you towards the answer. There is a full podcast season about looking for him.
Man,
I did not mean to effectively like buzz market this podcast to you.
I need answers now.
I mean, I don't know, man. Google it. We got to keep the show rolling. Anyway, that is not the podcast I want to talk about. The podcast that I want to talk about is a new season from that same guy, and it's all about surviving Y2K. Now, you may say, Matt, we've already all succeeded at that. And I would say, yes, true.
I'm fine.
I mean, mostly. It's been some years. But what is interesting about this show is it is not a Y2K survival guide. It is a series of, like, interviews and, like, retrospectives on what it was like to lead up to and then live through and then sort of, like, come out the other side of Y2K.
It was pretty wild.
Well, see, that's...
Answer is... Richard Simmons is mostly fine, Matt.
Okay, cool. Anyway, that is the thing that I think is very interesting about this podcast is that Y2K was such a huge deal until it wasn't a big deal anymore, and then people just basically didn't talk about it anymore. But when you think back on that, like 2-3 years of your life, it was like a weirdly huge part of it. So having the opportunity to like just reflect on how crazy it was. And like, it's a lot of like very specific interviews. Like, this is what these 3 people were doing on this day.
Yeah, no, that is really, well, because here's the thing about Y2K, right? Is like, it was this giant thing. And I have talked to people who worked in computers and like technology at the time. And they were like, listen, this was a very real concern. Like, this was a real problem. Like, we just dealt with it, but like, you know, just because we dealt with it, don't like look back and think that it wasn't a concern. Like, it was a real concern, but like, so it was this like a giant looming concern, but it also had like a very hard cutoff point, at which point it was either going to be fine or it wasn't. And that point was just like midnight, December 30th, 1999, and then it was fine. So like, you just immediately didn't have to think about it anymore.
Right. And that, I think that is a lot of the sort of hook of this show, is they just talk about like that whole feeling and like people sort of either being excited or let down when nothing happened. And like, they talked to a bunch of preppers. They talked to some people who like, you know, it's anyway, I'm not going to go like beat by beat and tell you what happened in this show, but every once in a while I listen to one of these like fancy prestige podcasts and it's really good. And this one was really good. It's called Surviving Y2K.
That does actually sound super interesting. Here's my one fun blurb about Y2K. Beth's parents were like, not like super hardcore, but were like moderate core preppers. Okay. They were like,
I mean, a lot of people were.
Right. Yeah. Well, Beth's dad is like in technology. And he was like, listen, I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine. But like, he was very in tune with like how bad it could be if it broke bad, right? So they were like mild preppers. And he was like he was like on a forum. People were like, oh, this is like what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. And he was like, hey, we like live on this. We have this like piece of property like out in the country. Why don't some people who live in the area, like, you can all come out, we can like hang out, like blah, blah, blah. So it is important to know that Beth's father, whom I love dearly, this story is told with so much love. Like, I think the world of this dude. He's a diminutive man. Like, he's just not a large dude.
Mm-hmm.
And but he is also, but his handle for this forum was his name, Big Dog. Okay. Like I said, he's a diminutive dude. He's like 5'6" or something. Like he's on the small end, and he's and he is not the sort of dude to whom you would append the appellation Big Dog.
Right. That's an internet name you pick when you're not planning on meeting people.
Right. No. So people show up and they're like, "Hey, how are you?" And he's like, "Hey, what's up? It's me, like Big Dog." And they're like, Your his name isn't Steve. You're Steve Big Dog." And he's like, "Yeah, I like big dogs." And he does, like, he has dogs, and they're all large dogs. And so, like, there was no connection in his mind between the idea of being Steve, a dude who likes big dogs, and Steve Big Dog.
Right. That is great.
I also did once see a chainsaw with a sticker that said Y2K compliant.
Oh, dude, everything had to be Y2K compliant, even if it didn't have any computers in it.
Yeah, and that really tickled me. What, Matt, is our fourth star of the week?
Fourth star of the week, and I will just sort of mention it in passing because we have really dragged out these first 3 stars, is I got the new Super Mario Maker game. It's really good.
Oh, cool. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, the original Super Mario Maker was really fun. I played it because I had a Wii. I was one of like the 10 people who had and enjoyed a Wii U.
Yeah, I have and enjoy a Wii U too. But I actually got the Super Mario Maker bundle.
Oh, nice. Well, Super Mario Maker 2 is just like Super Mario Maker, but there's more Super Mario stuff that you can put into it. Like, they've really expanded what options you have. Like, now you can make a Super Mario World level where you could not do that before. You can put in like slanted paths, whereas before you could only do like stepped paths. So it really like they put a lot of new stuff in the game, and it really has expanded the crafting capabilities. But that also means it is just like the old game was already Infinite Super Mario Brothers, and this one is like Infinite Super Mario Brothers with somehow more options.
I think the thing, I didn't play a ton of Super Mario Maker 1, even though I wanted to, because what I was hoping was for basically Infinite Super Mario Brothers. And what I ended up seeing a lot more of was like people doing like weird like specialty levels, and like oh, I've built a level where like if you run across it, it plays like Old McDonald or something crazy.
Yeah, there's definitely that stuff. I feel like
I really just wanted to play more Super Mario, and not a lot of people were doing that.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things where you just kind of have to get good at learning which ones to play. Like, if you do it for a while, you can kind of look at the description of a level and say, like, okay, this is going to be a real level, or this is just somebody's weird, like, torture box that they built. Anyway, Dave, what is our fifth star of the week?
So our fifth star of the week, Matt, I just kind of wanted to circle around and talk about Fallout 76 for a few more minutes.
Check in
it's
on that
summertime.
bad boy.
I've had a little bit more of a chance to play it. And dude, it's still real fun. Here is the thing that I actually wanted to talk about, though. They've done a lot with the game, like Bethesda has. And now I just want to, like, obviously, Bethesda really pooped in the bed when Fallout 76 came out. You know what I mean? Like, I know there were all sorts of problems where, like, people had paid for this, like, Prestige Edition, and they sent out this, like, janky secondary stuff.
It was a badly rolled out game.
Yeah. And people, I think, like, listen, we got it pretty close to launch, and I have had fun with it since day one. But people, I think, very reasonably were like, this is a bad game. Like, this game is like, it has a lot of problems and is not a good game. But Bethesda has just continued to, like, roll out like update after update after update after update, and are like changing the game and tweaking the game and like adding in new stuff. And I'm starting to see a lot of reports around now, and people are like, well, I guess I'll have fun with it. Like, there's like new reviews that are coming out because people like there's been so many updates. People like, it's like, well, we should review it again. And like, it's fun and they have a good time, but they're very like angry and reluctant to admit it.
Right. Like, I got so badly burned on this before that even though it is fun now, I just don't want to give them the satisfaction.
Right. Of admitting that the thing that they have done is good. So yeah, I'm still having a blast with Fallout 76, and they've added in a bunch of new stuff. And I think one of the cool things is they've made a multiplayer game that I am interested in playing. Because we've talked about this before. Generally speaking, I am not particularly interested in playing multiplayer online games.
Right. Yeah. Neither am I, really.
Yeah, but they have created a game that I think is really fun. And I like interacting with people on it because, like, you're never interacting with, like, a ton of people.
Right. Interacting with somebody else is either something that you have chosen to do, like, you have, like, called someone on the phone and said, like, hey, do you want to play this game together?
Like,
or it's, like, a weird novelty where you are down in this cave and some other guy happens to roll through. And, like, in that moment, you're like, oh, right, there are other people playing this game with me. I had forgotten because I hadn't seen one in 3 hours.
Right, like, you can see him on the map, but, like, you don't run into him. And then the other real, like, the other crazy thing is I was actually playing it this afternoon, and I ran into a dude. Like, there's no joke about this. I was just so blown away that it was true. I ran into a dude who was level 256.
Wow. That's a very high level, Dave.
It's an astonishingly high level. And I just was like, wow, bud.
What has your last 8 months of your life looked like? Has it just been this?
Because, boy, howdy, that's an astonishingly high level.
I was going to say, I like Fallout 76. I do not play it until you get to level 250 like Fallout 76. You know what I mean?
I just don't even... I mean, I guess it's an infinite world and there are, like, daily quests that you can do to continue to level up. So, like, there is... I guess there's... Like, clearly he did it, so, like, there's stuff that you can do. I was just pretty blown away by seeing that. Anyways, Matt... Fallout 76. It's a lot of fun. Having a good time. That's really it.
Right on. Well, speaking of having fun and having a good time, we're going to take a break. We're going to watch episode 23 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger, and we will be right back. Okay, welcome back. So, we just finished watching episode 23. It's good.
It's really good.
It's got a lot to recommend it, Dave.
It does. So this is a Naoki-focused episode. I think this is the second Naoki episode we've had. Is that right?
At least second, because there was the one with him on the bicycle. It's probably at least his third. I can't remember what a third one is, but I feel like there's been at least one more.
So anyway, this is a Naoki-focused episode, which is fun. I like this character a lot. And we open up, and the sort of central point of this episode is that it is a World Gem Expo, which I love. A, I love the idea of. B, my initial thought, I gotta be real, this cannot be as good. I feel like it can't be as good as the last gem-oriented episode, which was Diamond Dimension back in Jetman. I'm willing to give it a shot.
Okay. I mean, man.
Having watched it, I think I would say that I don't think it's quite as...
I don't think it's as good as the Diamond Dimension episode, but I
don't want to cut it short because this is a very, very good episode. I just have a real soft spot for that one. Really, it's just the image of like Kaori like dumping every gem that she could buy in the city of Tokyo like onto Akko. Anyways,
extremely good. But this one is also good.
This one is also good. So it's the World Gem Expo, and that's exactly what it sounds like. It is. It's like a gem, but also it seems to just be like, it's like a mineral show. Because it's like, this is just like people collect minerals. And if you like have a cool chunk of malachite, like you show up and someone's like, I'd love that chunk of malachite. And you buy it or sell it.
Yeah, I think part of it is vendors. Part of it is just like things on display. You know, like the world's largest
Comic-Con.
diamond, the world's rarest emerald. I don't know exactly how you define what the rarest emerald is, but it's there.
It's there. It's like Comic-Con, but for rocks.
Yeah, but like cool rocks.
Yeah. So there's this woman, and we see her, and she's walking through, and she's just chilling out by herself, and she's got this gigantic ruby pendant. Honestly, it's a little bit ominous. And then we flip to the Rangers.
Yeah, and she is not walking through the expo. She's like landing at the airport and like making her way through town.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Matt. So then we cut to the Rangers, and they are all skipping work.
Yes.
And they are eating ice cream. And they're like, man, ice cream tastes, I like this. I really appreciate that they acknowledge this. They're like, ice cream tastes a lot better when you are skipping work to do it. This is a weird, like, because, like, you can skip school. And, like, you shouldn't.
Right.
But
like,
you can.
Yeah, you can play hooky.
There's not, like, a super serious repercussion if you skip school. Like, if we find out, we educational professionals, like, if we find out about it, like, you know, you're going to get in trouble. But, like, there's not, like, a huge penalty for it. Do people just skip work? Is that a thing?
Well, see, here's the thing about this, is all of the employees of Pegasus Motors. Like, this is the whole company other than the boss.
Right. So this is not just, like, Steve in accounting, like, calling in sick and, like, slipping off to go to Cedar Point. This is the entire staff of this firm.
Right. Unless they have Dapu back at the garage, like, doing all 5 of their work.
Which is not impossible. Now, also, I will say the president does not seem to be there every day. So maybe they were just like, you know what, man, like, we're kind of ahead. We can push this stuff. The president's not here. Let's just dip. Maybe it's actually easier to skip work in this scenario because they're like a small union. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you can't fire us all.
Right.
But they're like, listen, everything is cooler if you're skipping something that you're supposed to do to do it. Mark Twain said it in the early, whenever he said it, he's totally right. So, as they're walking, they run into this woman.
Yeah, she's like driving around town. She stops her car, gets out, and turns to them and says like, hey, I'm looking for the Gem Expo. Could you point me in the right direction?
Right.
And as she does this, Naoki sees her, and she's a very pretty young lady.
She is.
He sees her, and like, he doesn't faint, but like, he drops his ice cream cone and has to like run away and hide behind Kyosuke. Be like, Kyosuke, like, tell her where the Gem Expo is. I cannot face her.
Like, I literally... So Matt said he dropped his ice cream cone. He's got like a very tall twist cone. You know, it's probably like, it's just like 7 or 8 inches high of ice cream. And when he sees her, he like drops it and it like drops over and falls. And if that's not like a little Freudian gag slipped in by the writers, I don't know what is.
Although I feel like it's actually kind of the opposite. Because what the problem is, initially I thought that this was a woman that he knew that he was trying to hide from. But no, Naoki, we'll find out in the next scene, just gets super nervous around pretty ladies. Like, he just cannot handle himself.
Yeah, he is impossibly flustered. Like, he literally cannot talk to her.
Cripplingly flustered.
So we find out that this woman, her name is Princess... Sorry, Matt. My notes say Princess Karen, because I was doing voice to text. Her name is not Karen.
No, her name is Princess Karen. That's also what it is in my notes.
Oh, her name is Princess Karen. Okay, rad. So her name is Princess Karen. She is from the Divaldi Kingdom.
That I think is not right if you were doing voice to text, but I also don't know what the kingdom was. It's just it's like the Bilbo kingdom or something.
Yeah, it's wherever she's from. It's not real. And so she's like, I've got this. I'm trying to get to this Gem Expo. The next thing we see is we go up from there to Barbarian, and Beauty's on Net is like reading a magazine about the Gem Expo.
It's also partially about her because I think it's President Dynamo who's reading the magazine. It's Zanet who is on the cover because this is a space magazine. That's right.
It's a space magazine and Beauty Zanet is on it. And they find out, they're like, oh, this gem is going to be at this Gem Expo.
Right. It is some sort of power stone. And I don't know what that is meant to imply, but President Dynamo says like, oh, it used to be a shooting star, and then it came to Earth, and it's like God's gem that suppresses natural disasters.
Yeah, like clearly, yeah, like whatever it is, it's like it's a magical space gem that has magic space powers and is like cool.
Right. And so Zanet says, obviously, I want that. Go get it
obviously,
for me.
Give me it.
Instructor Richie Hiker pops in. He's like, whoa. I've got a much cooler idea. Instead of stealing this gem, why don't we...
Like, we should steal it.
Oh, yes. We're definitely stealing it. That is step one. But step two is not make a necklace. Step two is that we drop it in a glass of water from Barbarian. And there is something about the water on Barbarian that when it interacts with gemstones...
Like maybe this specific gemstone or gemstones like it.
I think that it is just any gemstone because here is what I think is happening. He says, let's put the gemstone in the water. When we do, it'll make the gemstone explode. And since it's this like powerful stone, it will explode in a large enough firework that is how we will blow up the Earth into fireworks. Right. So if you remember in the first episode of this show, they were shown like draped in necklaces and jewelry that they were stealing from a planet, and then you saw the planet explode into fireworks. I think that maybe this is just how they blow up planets into fireworks. They get steal all enough jewelry, put it in a pile, pour on their like weird, like polluted water, and that causes a chain reaction that blows up the planet.
Dude, guys, I guess if you don't have any like gem-oriented Barbarian gang members, it would be fine, but you still maybe should not be drinking that water. That can't be...
Well, I mean...
That can't be healthy.
You shouldn't drink the water, Dave, and I shouldn't drink the water, but it's probably fine for President Dynamo.
Yeah. So they say, they're like, well, listen, it's going to be hard to get because, like, whoever has it is going to guard it really closely because it prevents natural disasters. So, like, we've got to... You know, like, we can't just, like... We're not just going to be able to, like, walk up and snag it.
And President Dynamo says, okay, cool. Here's the plan. We're going to send down VV Gorin. And VV Gorin is a wild monster.
Dude, VV Gorin rules. So he is... Like, he looks like he's wearing, like, a wrestling or weightlifter singlet.
He's Evil Olympics, is what he is.
Yeah, he's Evil Olympics, is basically what he is.
He's an evil Olympian who is also, like, his head is the Olympic torch. And, like, what he does is he has, like a fancy gold medal on his chest, and he can rub that gold medal, and it lets him do, like, crazy...
Super sports?
Like, super sport-themed attacks.
Yes. I will say, I just looked it up. 96 was a Summer Olympics.
Dave, I just pulled up my phone and was going to be looking that up. Where was it in 96? Was that in Atlanta?
It was in Atlanta, and I was really hoping that it was one, because there've been a couple of years where it was held in Japan. It wasn't held in, it was in Atlanta, but it was a Summer Olympics that year, so it made sense. Actually, June, when did you say this episode aired?
It would have been July
26th.
July 26th. So that was probably either during or right before or after the Olympics.
Okay. Dig it. Very cool,
yeah,
guys.
No, I'm into it.
We should check out either the 92 season or the 2000 season and see if they did an Olympics monster. So anyways, Vivi Gorin, and he is an evil Olympian. That is his thing. So we go from there. We see the Rangers. The Rangers at some sort of market thing, like a outdoor farmers market.
No, it's like a cool. It is an outdoor market, but it's like a street market. It's like a
cool
okay,
got it.
shopping area, like a trendy spot.
And they are wearing aggressively the wrong colors.
Yes,
like
Yoko is wearing yellow. Naoki is wearing green.
Like they're wearing the 5 Ranger colors, and none of them are wearing the right one,
except for Kyosuke. Thank goodness.
Kyosuke is wearing red. Yeah, at least somebody is on point. So
there's a lot of pretty women out here shopping for clothes because, like I said, it's like a trendy shopping area. Naoki
cannot handle it.
Completely beside himself.
Yeah, they are walking through the market, and he is like crouched down with his like head pressed into Kyosuke's back so that he does not see any of these pretty ladies.
And they say like, dude, what is happening? And he's just, I just can't handle it, guys. I'm sorry. And now, what's fun is that Yoko pops into the conversation at this point. He's like, oh yeah, I remember when you first met us, you were like totally beside yourself and couldn't handle it. Now, the thing...
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that line, and I'm glad that that's in there. Because otherwise, this would have been some, like, subtle but extremely harsh shade that Naoki was throwing.
Oh, yeah. No. She absolutely says that, and he acknowledges it with a slight head nod. But then Kyosuke says, essentially he says, like, he was just scared of you. Like, he wasn't nervous around you because you're pretty. He was just scared of you because you two are terrifying.
Well, see, that makes sense for Natsumi, but Yuko is not. Anyway, she's not terrifying. Okay, so they get a quick enemy alert, but then we go to Princess Karen, and she is just driving around in kind of a janky old car with 0 security escort.
I also have this in my notes, but it will make sense later.
Yeah. She's a foreign dignitary with the hugely valuable gem, and she is just chilling. So then the Olympian monster he's Vivi Gorin. He's chasing her, and then he rubs his metal and he long jumps over the car and lands in front of her, and then because she doesn't understand what's happening, of course,
right.
So she brakes to avoid hitting this dude, and then he lights a fuse, sadly not with the top of his head.
No, but he does have a different torch.
He does have an Olympic torch. It would just be cooler if he used his flaming head. And he lights a fuse and then surrounds her car with a ring of fire.
Yeah, and I can't tell if she's like passing out from the heat or smoke, or if she just like faints because this is a very weird thing to happen. But she is passed out. He is closing in to grab the gem from her when suddenly our heroes arrive.
Yes. It's really cool. They put out the fire very slowly. I assume that Vivi Gorin has stepped out for a quick latte. Because they are seriously, they're putting out this fire for like a solid 30 seconds. And we know Vivi Gorin was standing right there. It's like one of the most egregious examples I've ever seen of like Rangers deal with something while monster idly stands by.
I mean, listen, he does want that gem, but he is concerned about fire safety.
Okay, so as they put this fire out, he summons a javelin. He whoa, Vivi Gorin, and he like rubs the metal and he summons it. I'm not gonna say he rubs the metal every time. I'm just gonna say what he does.
Right. Just keep in mind, he rubbing that metal.
Just like a lot. And very conspicuously too. This will become a plot point. So he does a javelin. It doesn't really do anything. Some
wumpers show up. They get into a fight, and Kyosuke says, "Hey, we'll take care of this. Naoki, take Princess Karen and get her away from here."
Right. Naoki isn't thinking about this, or like maybe he did not connect like the woman he met before to like when Kyosuke says like go help that person. But even as the blue racer, Naoki is completely unable to control himself. Like not control himself, like he's unable to handle this. Like he runs up to help her, and as he gets her out of the car, he's like, "Oh no, I didn't realize you were a pretty girl." And he just kind of like flips out.
Yeah, like what I like about this is that it's going to continue to happen throughout the episode. I think it's not that he forgot that he was flustered. No, actually it is that he forgot that he's flustered. It's that when he is in the zone and like performing acts of heroism,
he's good.
He's fine. He's totally fine. It's like people who have a stutter who are fine when they sing, but they have the stutter when they speak. Like when he is performing acts of heroism, he can be around women totally fine, no trouble. It's when they're out of danger and he like looks over at her, he immediately remembers like, oh yes, gosh, very pretty woman. Don't know how to be around her.
Yeah. He blushes through his helmet, and he is so stunned and flustered that he like reverts to his, like he loses his henshin. He's so overcome. And then he's trying to re-henshin, and he like can't activate his Excel changer. Like he can't get the key.
Yeah.
Like his hands are so shaky.
If you don't actually watch the show, the way the Excel changers work is like they have a physical key, and they put that key into like the ignition that is on their bracelet and turn the key, and that's what starts it. And he just can't get the key in the slot.
Yeah. So, then
so they just run because like he can't really fight, but he's still supposed to keep her safe, so they just get out of there.
So Vivi Goran has constrained the other Rangers with rhythmic gymnastic hoops, which is great. And I also remembered I was like, was it Bio Ranger that they used? Bioman that they used rhythmic gymnastic stuff?
Might have been Bioman. Can't remember exactly.
I mean, I've got a giant chart somewhere, but I don't want to pull it up right now. Anyways, I just thought that those little Rangers would be a little bit maybe embarrassed and chagrined about that.
Well, maybe if there had been a crossover.
Right. So then he does some boxing gloves, and Blue and the princess, like, they drive away. Like, they're just trying to escape. But Vivi Goran, like, jumps on the car.
Right, they're not driving away in one of the Ranger cars. They're driving away in Princess Karen's, like, convertible.
Right.
And he just jumps into the open back seat. And so, like, they're trying to get away from him. They're swerving all over the road. And Naoki is trying to do some, like, you know, some aggressive driving to shake him off of the back of the car. And he's like, okay, hold on to me so that you don't go flying when I do all these tricks. And then she does hold on to him. And then he's like, oh my gosh, this was a mistake. I cannot be this close to you. But I mean, he ends up like kind of spinning the car out. And even though that's not what he meant to do, it does have the same effect that he was hoping for. And Vivi Goran is knocked off the car and they're able to get away.
Yeah. So they run away. Vivi Goran like chases them into a fun park. And he's looking around for them. He passes by a panda, like a dude in a panda bear costume and someone in a dog costume. And he's like, hey, have you seen like these people? And they're like, oh yeah. And they hold up signs that point like the opposite direction. And then Vivi Goran runs that direction. And then after a minute, he stops. He's like, wait a minute. And
this
he turns around.
Very convenient.
Right. He turns around and he sees, of course, Karen and Naoki like getting out of the costumes and running away.
Which is great. It's also weird that they bothered to get out of the costumes. Like, they could have just walked away slowly in costume and probably gotten away with it.
Yeah.
But they need to get out of these costumes because there's going to be a couple costume changes, folks.
Yeah. Vivi Goran captures the princess with a rhythmic gymnastic ribbon. Blue does. He finally, Naoki manages to like keep it together for long enough to rescue Princess Karen from that, at least. And then they just run again. So they do run away. They run into a carousel, like a merry-go-round, which is, I think, literally maybe like the worst. Actually, any Ferris, don't get on a ride because all rides go back to wherever they started from.
Yeah, and the one weird thing about this carousel, though, is that when Vivi Gorin finds them on the carousel, he's like comes up a set of stairs onto the platform that they're on. So is this like a multi-level carousel? Did they like get on it because it was it's off of the ground level? So maybe
maybe. I don't know. I'm intrigued by the idea, but I have sort of an outsized love of merry-go-rounds. I'm not really sure. Like, it's such a dumb ride, but I really like merry-go-rounds. I think they're real fun and cool.
Yeah, man.
But anyways, Vivi Gorin, like, runs up, and he's like, Gorin! And they're like, oh no! And they run away. They run away, and there's just sort of, like, hiding under this like, wooden arch. And Naoki's like, listen, I'm super sorry. I'm generally a lot more competent than this, but, like, when I talk to pretty girls, like, I just kind of lose it. I get super flustered. I don't know what happens. I just, I'm real sorry. Princess Karen is like, oh my gosh, really? Like she's deeply flattered. She's like, oh my gosh, you think I'm pretty? That's so great. Like,
yeah. It's like, yes, but that's not what I was trying to communicate.
Right. Like, she just has this very sweet reaction. Like, Princess Karen, like, I get it. That's very nice that he thinks, like, keep it together. You guys are on the run from a murderous space monster.
So they're trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to stop this guy? Clearly he has some sort of, like, special abilities over and above just being a good athlete. So, like, how are we going to figure this out? And as they are talking about it, Princess Karen is sort of fidgeting with her necklace, with the gem.
Yeah.
And Naoki looks at that. He's like, oh, wait a second. He sees her fidgeting with her necklace, and he remembers then watching Vivi Gorin rub his medal. He says, aha, that's it. Like, we just need to get the medal away from Vivi Gorin, and then he'll go back to just being like a regular athlete, and we can beat that. That's just like a fast guy.
Yeah. And he's like, Princess, I'm going to try and handle this. I need you to keep your distance from me because I can't handle your prettiness. And if I'm going to be useful at all, like, I need to be outside of your area of effect, like outside of your prettiness aura, and then I'll be able to do this. So, the next thing we see is amazing, and here's what it is. Vivi Gorin is standing there, and a geisha runs up to him, and it's Naoki.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Naoki dressed as a geisha, and he says, an evil samurai is after me. Please help. Vivi Gorin, for some reason, is like, oh, okay.
Of course. Of course I'll help you.
Of course I will do that thing. And so the evil samurai runs up, and it's Princess Karen.
Uh-huh.
And she, like, slashes at Vivi Gorin, like, and tries to get the medal.
Yeah.
But, like,
and, like
it doesn't work.
Like, while they are engaged with that, like, Naoki is trying to, like, grab it from around his neck. And he realizes what's going on. He sort of, like, throws Naoki off. Karen gets him with the sword, and he falls over. And then instead of hitting him with the sword again, the two of them just bolt. They're like, listen, our costume thing didn't work. We got to get to the next stage of our plan. No time to hit this guy with a sword.
Well, then I think this makes sense because Vivi Gorin hops up and he's completely uninjured. He was just so, like, overtaken with, like, the theatricality. Like, he just plays into it and he's like, wait a minute, I'm fine. This is silly. So then he chases them again, and now they're on a construction site.
Mm-hmm.
And the princess is a dude using a jackhammer.
She has like a gray goatee stubble thing painted on her face.
Yeah, it's great. And then Blue, I really like that they have just made Princess Karen play all the male roles.
Mm-hmm.
So then Naoki rolls up and dressed as a policeman, and he tries to use his like police baton to flick the metal off. No, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Sorry, he does.
He yells at him for a minute like, hey, this is a construction site. You can't be here. You have to go around. And again, Vivi Gorin responds not like a monster, but like a human who has accidentally wandered onto a construction site. Like, he's apologetic. He's saying, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I got to get out of here. And then that's when he gets him with the baton.
Yeah. So now he's just like an ordinary an ordinary athlete, basically.
Right. I mean, but he's still a monster from space.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. He's like an ordinary. He's reduced. His power level is reduced. But even with his power level reduced, now he still is not in his Ranger form. So he still cannot really match Vivi Goren in this way.
Princess Karen kind of runs away from him. And as Princess Karen runs away from him, Naoki says, like, yeah, okay, now it's Naoki time. I can do this. And he pulls out his key, and he's about to power up again. But at the same time, some Wumpers appear, and they start attacking Princess Karen. They get the medal back from her. So they only ever stole the medal for like 3 seconds. It was completely useless. But then she runs away from the Wumpers back to him just as he's about to henshin. And so, like, that is now completely off the table.
Yeah.
He's got the jitters and the shakes all over again.
Right. They start on a roller coaster. They manage to get away from Vivi Goren, and then they end up on a Ferris wheel. And they're in a hangy compartment, like one of the cars, I guess.
How Ferris wheels are.
They're safe. You know how they be. And so they're safe for the minute. And the princess is like, listen, I feel really bad about dragging you into this. And now he's like, no, like it's fine. Like I'm glad to help. Like this is kind of my thing.
And she's like, no. Like I'm just gonna get out of here. Like I've got to take care of this myself. I can't have you involved. And Naoki's like, you can tell he's really hurt. Like, what, don't you think I'm reliable? Like I'm trying to be a good hero.
No, not particularly.
And she says, no, like that's absolutely not it. Here is the deal. And this actually explains why she traveled to this country and was just driving around with like no security detail.
Yeah. So it turns out that she is, not only is she the princess, she is like the crown. Like she's about to become queen.
Right.
But before she can be the head of state, like it's this tradition that whoever it is has to like take this special gem and like go on a journey and like bring it back safely. And then you can be like crowned head of state.
Right. And then so she's peace can reign and your country will be safe for another generation.
Right. So like that's what she's doing. So it actually does make sense that she's here all by herself. She's the crown princess. That's what the word I was looking for. And so Blue's like, listen, that's crazy. Like, that's way too much. I'm going to help you. And as he is saying this, like, that ribbon from Vivi Goren, like, wraps around his arm, pulls him down out of the Ferris wheel. So he's down on, like, the tracks of the roller coaster. Princess Karen says, like, she looks down and is like, oh my gosh, I need to help. Leaps out of the Ferris wheel, makes like a standing horizontal jump of about 20 feet is what it looks like. Like 20 feet out and probably like 15 to 30 feet down. Just like lands on the thing next to her. And
this has got to be some Power Stone stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Like, I was trying to figure out how in the world she did this, but she does have this magic rock. And Blue is like, dude, you need to run away. I will try and distract this monster. Like, you need to run. She says, like, no, I will sacrifice the stone, to save you. This is very bad royalty. Like, I feel for you, Princess Karen, but if you really think that this gem is like the thing that mystically protects your kind of no-name kingdom for an entire generation and like all of your people and your entire country, like it is, I just feel like it's irresponsible to be like, no, I'll give that away to save this one dude that I just met.
Well, maybe if we're choosing to be generous here. Maybe she just...
it's definitely heroic, sort of.
Yeah, it's definitely heroic, and it's selfless for her. And maybe she just believes enough in Naoki that she's saying, listen, we're going to give away the stone, And then, once he's no longer being held for ransom, or like there's no longer a gun to his head, then we can go after this guy and get it back. We already got the medal from him once, so we can probably get the stone from him another time.
Right. Now, she does say, she's like, I know that the gem would not want you to sacrifice yourself. So, like, at least there's also some external logic that we hear about. Now, she does then trip and falls over the entire safety railing. Like, she just, like, must, like, trip and then do, like, a sort of, like, a standing hop leap as she's tripping, because this is, like, a very significant safety railing. But she doesn't drop the necklace. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But she is dangling for her life.
So Naoki, like, wrestles himself away from Vivi Gorin and, like, jumps down and grabs her arm and is trying to pull her back up. And, like, they struggle with it for a while. But
yeah, again, Vivi Gorin is just chilling out. He's gone for second latte.
He's got to keep up that intense energy, Dave. No, that's what it is. He's not going out for a latte. He's got to hydrate. He's always running around. If you're that caliber of an athlete, you definitely need to make sure you're keeping up with your hydration, get some electrolytes in you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, he
does shoot them with a laser that's the shape of the Olympic rings.
Oh, man, I forgot about the Olympic ring laser. Yeah, he does do that. So they're falling. Blue Naoki, he does it. He and it's pretty rad, actually. He excel changes midair and then uses, like, blue racer power to, like, fall faster than Princess Karen.
Yeah, or rather,
and he hits the ground.
Or rather, he must do that because he was actually behind her and he ends up on the ground before. We don't see any sort of use of powers to make this happen. It's just bad camera work.
Yeah, sorry, I should have specified. He doesn't be like, blue racer, and, like, get coated in energy. He just is on the ground all of a sudden. And then, so then the rest of the Rangers arrive in the best possible way, which is via carnival rides.
Yes, they've not just arrived in time to save him. They arrived 5 minutes ago, all got on different rides, and have timed it such that they are all, like, one's rolling in on a roller coaster, one is coming down from, like a Tower of Terror, Power Tower sort of thing. One of them is, I think, rolling through on a is one of them is on the carousel, I think, and I forget the other one.
I think so. I forget the other one.
But,
too.
Like, do you think that they've been in there the whole time, but they had to wait?
I really hope
they had to wait in line for the ride. Like, okay, this is going to be perfect. Naoki, we believe in you. Don't drop that girl. Please don't drop that girl. We're gonna be there in like 5 minutes. I'm gonna be on the next car, and then I'm gonna be there. You're gonna love it.
We are gonna crush this entrance. You don't even know. So. Then it's, he does some great attacks, Vivi Gorin does. He has a tennis attack. He's got a volleyball attack. He's got a basketball attack with a pretty sick dunk.
It is a pretty sick dunk. I don't know if it's the sickest dunk that we've seen, but it's pretty...
I don't know that it is, but it is very good. He does a soccer attack, and then Blue Racer does this, like, running, flying, flipping, like, bicycle kick to kick the soccer ball attack back to Vivi Gorin. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and like that takes him out in regular size. But he's like, okay, now it is time for giant Vivi Gorin. He eats the Imo-Yokan.
Now, I do think this would disqualify him from. I think he would be disqualified from competing at this point.
Oh, sure, because of
that's definitely it's performance enhancing substance. That can't be allowed.
Gonna get stripped of that gold medal, which would be disastrous for him at this stage.
Which for him would be a really big problem. Although, I mean, like, listen, I don't know how much money the Barbarian have contributed to the IOC. Maybe they'll be willing to look the other way.
I mean, they
certainly do for Russia.
Heyo.
Hey, there's some cutting Olympic humor for you all. So he does a giant shot put attack, which is pretty awesome. They like use their shield and knock it back at him, so that's pretty rad.
And then they throw their shield like a discus.
Oh, man. Oh, I was going to say like Captain America, but discus does make a lot more sense.
I mean, they do say the word discus when they do it, so.
Oh, I missed that. I'm really just on the lookout for kind of any Captain America, vibe anywhere I can get it.
Sure.
And
that
then
makes
that's
sense.
it.
Captain America's awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God, he's so great. I love Captain America so much. And then they go to RV Cut, and then that's basically it for VV Goran.
Yeah. We end the episode at like a festival, like a summer like singing and dancing around wearing like kimonos festival. They're
doing like a big circle dance.
I can tell that they are singing a song about Gekisou Sentai Carranger, but it's not translated in the subtitles, so I don't know what they're saying, which is a real heartbreaker.
All I'm catching is like Carranger. Everybody's there. Signal Man is there. He is wearing a Signal Man-sized kimono, which is pretty amazing.
It's enormous.
Which is kind of weird. Like, this is a fairly extensive dance number, by the way. Like, this is not a quick scene.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's like a weird acting thing, but Red and Kyosuke and Natsumi look like they're having fun. Everybody else looks like vaguely miserable at this party. I'm not really sure why. So they do this pretty extensive dance number, and then the princess is like, hey, I'd like to show my appreciation. And Naoki's like, oh, you don't need to do that. And then she kisses him, and he passes out, which is great.
Yeah, and she just kissed him on the cheek as well. Like everyone runs over to try to wave some air in his face or like splash some water on him to get him to wake up. And like this is like as the episode is ending, they manage to get him up. He turns to the left, he sees that she's still standing there, and he faints again. Very good. And that is the end of that episode, Dave. But of course, it is not the end of our episode. Because first, we need to determine where Vivi Goran lands in the Creature Royale.
Yeah, Matt. So I was thinking about this, and the only other sports-themed monster that I can think of is number 47, Omukade, the football centipede.
Now, this is the one that was briefly Santa Claus?
This is the one that was briefly Santa Claus. I gotta say, dude, I really like Vivi Goran.
Yeah, and the fact that the episode came out during the Olympics, I think that's an intangible that should give him a little bonus.
I think it does. So I am looking up. I'm looking up from Omukade. Now we do get into like some pretty cool monsters pretty quickly. I think the big one is if we jump up 7 spots, it's to slot 37. We're at Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda, and then above that is Iron Mask Choryu and the Lipstick Songstress.
Yeah, and this line on the list is sort of our... We haven't actually hit anything around this line for a while, but for a long time, this was our line of like, if it's below this, it's very good. If it's above this, it's great.
Yeah.
So how do we feel? Do you think that Vivi Goran is a very good monster, or that he's a great monster?
I think he's a very good monster. Because as I am looking up from that, we are into like all of our favorite monsters, man. We're into Gali Sensei and Baracactus and the Three Magins and Dr. Yagami. So we're into like really, really fantastic monsters. I don't think he's quite up there, but I do think he's in that zone. So kind of counting up from Omukade, I think he is... It goes LLO Nene, the Driving Madness, then Baradarts, Baraskunk, Sarugami the Ninja Monkey, who's a great monster.
Very good.
And then Meteor Bem, Baramikton, Elekinta, Gigi Gaki-chan, and then Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda.
Okay.
I might even say... Okay, I don't think he's as good as Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda, if only because Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda, you gotta say the whole thing, was in like a bunch of episodes.
Right.
And, and then above that is like Iron Mask Choryu, and I don't think he's that good. But pretty much anyone underneath Evil Mastermind Genius Kuroda, I think he's up there.
Okay, so I definitely like him more than Elelio Nene, The Driving Madness. Where I on that list start to think that I maybe don't like him as much as other people is Sarigami the Ninja Monkey.
Okay.
Sarigami the Ninja Monkey is extremely good.
Yeah. Okay.
He stole people's moves, but he was also kind of dumb.
He pretended to be a ninja that worked with them.
He had sunglasses and like a crew of minions that would like shape change with him.
Yeah, okay. So I would say, better than Bara Skunk, better than Bara Darts, because Bara Darts really is that high because of Juri's reaction to him. So yeah, I would say better than Bara Skunk and Darts, not as good as Sarigami the Ninja Monkey.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good spot for him. And I think that's a pretty high showing.
It is 43. It's like top third, man.
Yeah, man.
So good for you, Vivi Goran.
And that, Dave, that finally does bring this episode of License to Carranger to a close. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you want to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we're talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. If you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Please rate, review, subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever it is that you find the show. That would be very cool of you. The Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To listen to any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can find them all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.